All right, what's up, guys? So Steelers coming off another win, two-game winning streak, first two-game winning streak of the year. The World Cup is in full-fledged right now, and in the quarterfinals. How you doing, Aryan?
Dude, I'm ecstatic. Eeshan and I, we were just talking about the Brazil game for those that watched the World Cup. Brazil just lost to Croatia, so that was a crazy upset. And the Steelers are playing really well over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say really well, but at least we're getting victories. And as a fan, that's kind of all you could ask for. So
right.
I'm excited. I feel like now like I said earlier, last week and the last couple weeks, that all I want to do is reach 500. Like I just want to be like make my Tomlin's record like still a thing. And if we do that, then playoff chances are still there. Raiders lost last night, so it's still a
Yeah,
possibility.
I agree. Like we're 5-7. We played the. Let's look ahead a little bit. We play the Ravens this week. No Lamar Jackson. Then we play Carolina, who's not a great team, and then we play the Raiders on Christmas Eve. You win those three, you're 8-7. You might finish with a winning record, and maybe you're looking at the playoffs. Right now, the Jets are 7-5. We just gotta hope that the big teams in the AFC beat up on all the okay teams, the wild card contention teams. And it's tough. We'd have to get past the Chargers, the Patriots, the Browns, the Jets, but let's just see. Let's just keep winning games and see. It's fun.
Wait, who's next in our like? Who are we behind currently?
So I'm looking at the playoff draw right now. We're 5-7. The Browns are 5-7. And it's the Chargers and Patriots at 6-6, and the Jets have the seventh seed at 7-5.
Okay, so we kind of just need to be ahead of the Jets, essentially.
Yeah, but the problem is we did lose to the Jets. That's the problem. We lost to the Jets and the Dolphins, so we need them to lose games. But let's not worry too much about that. Jets are playing the Bills this week. That could go a certain way. So I think we just focus on ourselves, and then ultimately, like you said, like playoffs or not, if we can maybe get a winning record, and so that would mean finishing 9-8, which would mean going the rest of the way 4-1. I think that's doable. Going 4-1 the rest of the way. We're 4-1 with TJ Watt this year, so
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So we just wanted to recap a little bit about what happened last week with the Steelers Falcons. I thought Kenny looked pretty good.
yeah,
It's kind of been a consistent pattern though. We played kind of really good in the first half, and then we slow down in the third quarter. And I don't know if
yeah.
that's Kenny to blame or the head coach. We could talk about that a little later, but I like that we have at least spurts of like momentum. I like how we at least have a good first half where Kenny looks really efficient.
Yeah.
Looking at his all options, he can even do the run plays. So I like that. Also, along with the offense, I think Connor Hayward, that was a really emotional moment. I don't know if you saw the reaction to when he scored a touchdown. Cam
Yeah.
Hayward was like crying on the sidelines because their
Yeah.
dad used to play for the Falcons and he scored like a touchdown like a similar way, I think.
Hmm.
So it was just really memorable for that family. So that was really wholesome. And then a couple other highlights were Pat Freiermuth, where he like caught the ball, like broke a
That was
tackle,
ridiculous.
and on that play, I feel like he could have got a touchdown if Gunner blocked better.
Yeah, that was terrible blocking. That
He
was
just
terrible.
blocked from the backside, like he didn't block the people in front.
I
So
feel like
that could have
Gunner was
honestly been a
honestly like
bigger
hurting on
highlight.
the play. He was being a negative
He
contribution.
literally, it could have been a better, yeah, it could have been an even better play. And then, lastly, George Pickens, he was
Yeah.
like frustrated on the sidelines, kind of similar to Antonio Brown in the previous years. What were your thoughts on that, Ishan?
I think I was watching. So when Hayward scored, Connor Hayward, George Pickens was one of the first guys to jump on him and celebrate with him. So I think Pickens gets frustrated when he's not catching it if we're not doing well. Like if we're doing okay, like I get it, he is kind of frustrated. And like this was a homecoming game for him. I think he's from Georgia. He had a lot of family in the stadium, so it's understandable. Like he went to Georgia, and so he wanted to show out. He had what, one target, two targets for one catch of like 2 yards, like, and he's our second receiver, which is definitely not good. We're not a passing offense, but still, but like I would like for George Pickens to not get as angry, but as long as it doesn't detrimentally affect the team, but I agree that we got to utilize him more. I don't think like I remember there was that Stephon Diggs was very upset with Josh Allen when he didn't target him. So any receivers, it's hard to find a receiver that's not a diva, in my opinion. At least there's some type of it. An example of one who's not is like Hines Ward. And there are some guys who are just happy if they who if they don't get their targets during that game. But I think we're gonna utilize them more, and we'll talk about this later. But the injury report is not looking too good for us, so Deontay might not play, and we'll see what that happens. And then if Pickens gets 2 targets, then I don't know what Kenny's doing. If Pickens gets 2 targets and Deontay's out. So.
Yeah, I think even though Pickens didn't get those targets, the Steelers offense at that time was still playing okay, like all right.
Yeah.
But because the person he is, he wants to get his targets, his yards. And also probably if you look at like the last couple weeks, he was like the wide receiver #1. So he's like thinking, what happened? Like, why am I not getting the ball? And all the other factors that you mentioned previously. I think Mike Tomlin handled that situation brilliantly, where he's like,
Yeah.
I want that out of my players. I want my players hungry for the ball. I want them to do better for the team and that passion. So I think that was like a great approach and mindset toward that situation. One last thing I was going to mention about the offense is it's good to see Najee back on track. He's had a
Yeah.
really tough season for like the most part, but these last 2-3 games, he's been on fire, I'd say. So I'm glad the running game is like what you expect from Steelers football.
Yeah, we ran it 37 times and passed it 28, which is definitely not something that we've been doing in recent years. But this reminds me of like the Le'Veon Bell days
Yeah,
when we can
exactly.
actually run the ball. And we had that year, remember, with Le'Veon Bell and D'Angelo Williams, and
Mm-hmm.
that is a great duo. And I feel like Benny Snell, Jalen Warren. Unfortunately, your boy didn't get a carry last game, McFarland. But we have a lot of guys in that backfield. Like Gunnar Olszewski got 2 carries, Derek Watt got a carry. Steven Sims, Kenny Pickett ran it 7 times. But also back to the Pickens, I'm looking. Deontay had 11 targets, Frymouth had 5, and then everyone else had 1 and 2. So that doesn't make sense to me. In that, like, we view it as we have a trio with Frymouth, Pickens, and Deontay, and they should all together like each of them get at least 4 or 5 targets. But I don't know why Kenny wasn't looking that way. But one last thing about the game was Minka's interception was so nice.
No, yeah, I think that was obviously the game stealing moment. They still had a chance to come back, even though we've been kind of dominating the entire game. And so
Yeah.
it was like, oh, here we go again. Let's hope we don't break the lead like we did
Yeah.
against the Bengals, I think. So I was glad that Minka capitalized. And I think he's that type of player. Whenever you need him most, it's like
Yeah.
he gets a pick.
Yeah, and this man, like, what, 2 weeks ago had his appendix removed? Like, not many people can do that.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, like, I remember people saying, "Oh, Joe Burrow is cutting slow," and that was like weeks after he had his appendectomy. So Minka's just something else. And then Marcus Mariota wasn't very good. I don't know why the Falcons didn't run the ball as much. They were running it with success. Cordero Patterson had 11 carries for 60 yards, and Algier had 10 carries for 52 yards. So that was on their coaching, but I'm happy. But I'm tired of these nail biter wins. I wish England were a young team, but I wish the Steelers could just blow some team out. And I bet that's what Brazil's feeling like right now. And they lost, but Croatia's not a bad team, so I'm not gonna say that. But like the Falcons aren't a great team. But we can get to this week. So what are you thinking? All right, I'm surprised. We're actually favored by 2 points against the Ravens. It's in Pittsburgh, but we're favored by 2.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, I kind of favored the Steelers as well. I mean, I'll probably, with bias, always favor the Steelers, but I'm sure the
Yeah.
media probably favors Steelers for the most part too because of Lamar Jackson being out.
Yeah.
If he was in, I think the Ravens would be favored. But
Yeah.
he's kind of essential to that team, and he's kind of been carrying their victories. Like their wide receivers have not been showing out, not getting much separation. So he's been having to do everything. So without him, it's going to be Tyler Huntley. Is his name?
Yeah. Huntley.
I, I think there's a song about him in the like they made like a viral song around him. So that's only the reason I know him because he's a
Yeah.
popular like personality. But other than that, I don't think he's like I think he's played against the Steelers before too, right? As a backup.
I believe
Uh,
so. I feel like we've had some success against the Ravens recently.
yeah,
I I saw something. We've beaten them a few consecutive times, but he's a great backup. Like he's probably a top 5 backup in the league. So and he has the mobility that Lamar Jackson has, not to that extent, but definitely mobile. So I can get into the Ravens injuries and then I can talk about the Steelers. So obviously Jackson, he's still questionable for the game, but he didn't practice today, so he's likely out. And he has I believe it was a high ankle sprain, I want to say. No, sorry, it's his knee.
yeah.
Someone else has a high ankle sprain injury. Never mind. Yeah. J.K. Dobbins is designated to return from IR, but I'm not sure if he'll come back for this game. They have some injuries on their O line. Ronnie Stanley, Kevin Zeitler, and Patrick McCarry are all questionable, which is big because that means our D line can do better. I'm looking at it. We only had one sack last game, and that was Hayward. So the Hayward's really made an impact, but I need to see something from either TJ or Alex Highsmith. I feel like we're at the point where one of them has to have at least a sack a game, either TJ or Highsmith. And then Patrick Queen, their linebacker, is questionable with a thigh injury, but he's pretty sure he said he's going to play. And then Arjen, you want to get into the Steelers injuries, which are kind of surprising.
Yeah, I mean Najee Harris is kind of questionable. He had limited practice on Thursday. It was an oblique injury, and then our main star TJ Watt, he was also questionable. Got injured in the ribs, and he also had limited practice on Thursday. Oh, he didn't practice on Thursday. My bad. And then Deontay Johnson, wide receiver one, is also questionable, and he also did not practice on Thursday. And then like the previous weeks, Chris Boswell is still injured, but he's designated to return from IR on Thursday, but not necessarily play. And then we have Larry. Oh, I always struggle with his name. Ogunjobi. He's questionable. Chucks Okorafor. He's questionable, and then Makella Witherspoon. So quite a banged up players, kind of on both sides of the ball field, offensive and defensive. So it'll be interesting how we recover from that.
Yeah. Was it, I think it was funny. Miles Jack, he had a snippet this week, and he said like the AFC North football. He thought it was just hyped for like marketing purposes, but he did say it's like a bloodbath whenever you play. So I feel like the real rivalry, I want to say in terms of physicality, is still Ravens Steelers. Say even if the Steelers have a rival with the Browns, or the Ravens have it with the Browns or Bengals, like Ravens Steelers is where it really gets intense. That's your Terrell Suggs, Ed Reed, Polamalu, um, James Harrison, that type of physicality. But we'll get into we'll try to make the depth chart position a little shorter from now on. So we're gonna just do offense, defense, special teams. I'll take offense this week. We'll just name some key guys and then who we think which team has the advantage. So obviously at the Ravens, you got Tyler Huntley. We got to watch out for Mark Andrews, one of the best tight ends in the league. And then I think Deshaun Jackson has made an impact there. He's been not pretty good, not bad. And then the Ravens, whenever you think Ravens, you always think running the football. They always have a pretty good running attack. So I feel like that's something we need to definitely key in on because we were giving some big carries to the Falcons in that third quarter. And then on the O line, they have a good O line. They definitely have a better O line than us. Ronnie Stanley, Kevin Zeitler, are all good players. Tyler Lindstrom is a good player. Well, our offense, I feel like it's been picking up, but it only picks up for the first half. Last week we scored 3 points in the second half. Like that's just not going to win you a lot of games, even though we beat the Falcons. And obviously we know our guys, but I feel like the key guys that say the Ravens are going to key in on to defend us are going to be Pickens, especially if Deontay is out. Freiermuth's really established himself as a huge weapon. So I think the Ravens will try to stop him. And then our O-line's been decent. Like they've not been bad. Kenny, I think, only took 1 sack last game. Or took 0 sacks. So yeah, they've been doing well. So we'll see. I definitely think the Ravens are the better offense though. So even with Huntley at play because of the stronger O-line and just they've been scoring a lot more than we have in recent weeks. So I gotta go Ravens have the advantage here.
Really, that's interesting. I would think since their main quarterback Lamar is not there, that would dismantle the whole offensive scheme. But you went the Ravens there. I mean, fair play. I could see it. They have all deep other kind of like players. As for the defense, I think the defense on the Ravens, they have also a better defense. They really like shut out kind of like a lot of teams. They don't let in a lot of points. And they have a lot of like veterans in the team. They have Calais Campbell. They have JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul. They have Roquan Smith is a really good player. Marcus Peters. It'll be interesting that matchup between Marcus Peters and George Pickens.
Oh yeah.
Because I think they're both very vocal, aggressive players. So we'll see who wins that matchup. And they even have Marlon Humphrey. So they have a couple of like stars on that defense. So it'll be difficult to get big plays. So that I think they have a slightly better defense than the Steelers. Let's look at the Steelers defense. Once again, we have obviously Minka Fitzpatrick. He's our and TJ Watt. Those are like our two main studs on the defense that like change the game. And then we have Alex Highsmith who's having a good season. Miles Jack is a great player, and then obviously Cam Hayward as well. So I think their secondary is slightly better, whereas our linebackers are kind of like our strength. But overall, I think the Ravens take a slight edge.
Okay. This is gonna be interesting with our picks, but everyone knows who I'm going with special teams here. I love this. I love Boswell. He's not playing. Tucker's the best kicker in my opinion in NFL history. He is ridiculous. He's so accurate. He's got a huge leg. And then, granted, I can't. Special teams is the whole component. It's all the return game. I've liked what I've seen from Steven Sims. Presley Harvin had a great punt to end the game. This game pinned them deep, and I think that's part of the reason why we were able to maybe generate that pick just because they're pinned so deep. While Devin Duvernay is also a threat for them returning, so I got to go Ravens here. But I will give a sneak peek. I'm not picking Ravens to win this game, which is funny that we're giving Ravens all the advantages at the positions. So that just shows that the better team doesn't always win. And granted, the Steelers are favored here. So, but like to Arian's point, he probably would have gone Steelers in terms of offense, had the advantage. So I'd say I'll give two keys to the game, and then Arian can add one. So I think one key for me this game is I think that we just got to stop the run. The Ravens love to run the ball. They're going to run it even more with Tyler Huntley. And so I feel like if we can stop that run, we'll really take out a big part of the Ravens game. And then on the offensive end, let's like game plan differently in the second half. Because I feel like we go into the second half, maybe the same game plan that worked in the first half, and then it never works in that third quarter and we sneak out a win. So if we can game plan better in the second half, I could definitely see us getting a victory. What's your third key for the game, Arian? And then you want to get into your prediction?
Yeah, it'll be kind of on the offensive side of things because I think defensively we've been pretty good stopping all kind of like the juggernauts except for like that Bills game. We like stopped the Dolphins and all the other teams. I would suggest that it would have to be continuing to run the ball really well. I think that's why we've been so successful over these last couple of weeks because Najee is back in the groove of things, and that just allows the offense to like run more smoothly. So we just need to be better or continue to like run the ball as efficiently.
Right.
And also because I have Najee on fantasy, but yeah.
I know he's disappointed a lot of people, but he's been better recently. So
yeah. So as for the predictions for the game, I know we had Ravens winning all kind of the defense special teams, but I have the Steelers winning this game. I think it's because them not having their quarterback were favored, and I think we just have more momentum coming into this game. I think Ravens, even though there might be a better team, they're not been playing better as a team. These last couple of weeks, they've been like struggling to points on the board actually. So and against weaker teams. So yeah, I'm gonna have the Steelers winning in a nail biter, 17-14.
Okay, really low score. I'm surprised. I feel like you always go a higher end, but
yeah, I think Steelers Ravens games are naturally pretty low scoring, and on top of that, no team is like offensive juggernauts right now. So
I'm gonna go Steelers as well, but I'm gonna go a little bit higher scoring. I'm just gonna go Steelers 24, Ravens 21. We win on a game-winning field goal. I'm always scared when Matthew Wright's kicking it just because it's not Boswell, but he's been pretty impressive recently. He's been making his kick. So and Arian's season predictions this year is pretty good. He's 7-5. I'm 6-6. But if we win this game, we're 6-7 going into a game against the Panthers, which is definitely winnable. And so one last thing, I'll just check the current standings and just tell you guys who we need to root against. Essentially, we're in that position where we still want to kind of root against teams. So like Arian and I mentioned, we don't want the Jets to win. And then Chargers, we hope they don't win. Obviously, we don't want the Browns to win, the Patriots. So it's kind of the Jets, Patriots, Chargers, Browns. I think Dolphins make it, and I think Bengals make it. So we're probably gonna have to get that 7 seed. What sucks is we've lost to the Jets and the Patriots and the Browns, so we don't have that head to head. That's killer. And like
all those games are winnable too.
Right.
Wait,
And our
what's our
conference, what? Go
against
ahead.
the Browns? What's our? Is it 1-1-0?
Oh, 0-1. So we can get it back.
Okay.
But the Browns' divisional record's 2-1, and ours is 1-2. So do these divisional wins matter? And the problem is we're 2-6 in the conference. We're not beating teams in the conference, but we're 4-2 in the other conference. So we're beating teams in the NFC, but we're just losing to these AFC teams. But we should have beat, in my opinion, the Patriots. I think if Kenny plays, maybe we win that game. And then the Dolphins, Kenny had to make a better throw. That was bad.
I think for Dolphins, I was watching that game. I don't even think that game was on Kenny. I feel like that game was on our defense. We had so many turnovers that we dropped,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and that was like
That's
the
true.
biggest thing. We had like three turnovers we could have caught. Like that would have changed the game like immediately. So that made it just harder on Kenny to come back. Especially when they have like those wideouts. We have to take advantage of that. So that was a crucial game. And the Jets game, we were also ahead. Like that was also like a nail biter. We should have won. But regardless, whatever happened, happened. I think now looking in the future, I don't think the Browns are going to be much competition. I think they're just going to be worse, kind of. I think they're going to lose more of their games, while we're going to win the rest of our games. I think
Yeah.
mainly it's the Chargers are playing the Dolphins, which I see them losing. So the Patriots and Chargers kind of like our main, and the Jets obviously are our main like competitors.
And I believe I want to say the Patriots have a very tough schedule going out. Like they lost to the Bills last week. Yeah, it's tough. They play the Cardinals on Monday night. You never know. Then they play at Raiders, and then against the Bengals, Dolphins, and Bills. So it's a
Mm.
tough schedule for them. And then one last thing I'd like to mention, we gotta give credit to Omar Khan, like our new GM. Like he got Ogunjobi. We had some good signings. Chase Claypool's look bad, like for the Bears. Like maybe not terrible, but his games, two catches under 13 yards, one for 8 yards, two for 11 yards, two for 51, five for 28. Like, granted, the Bears aren't a passing offense, and I'm a fan of Claypool, but his stats don't look great. And I read a report that someone was happy or something that he got traded in the team, like, and it wasn't like a receiver. I think it was a secondary player. Like, I think maybe he's just bringing bad vibes into the locker room, more of a selfish guy. But granted, the Bears pick that we have now is 33rd overall, and that's a second round pick or 34th, so it's essentially a first round pick. So that trade is looking good for us. But and I wish Claypool the best. And I'm surprised he actually did have, and I'm correct. He did have a pretty good game against the Jets slash Packers, but overall he hasn't been that great for him.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I thought it probably might be like a system thing too. I think with the Steelers, if he's a deep threat, so if you don't throw him the deep ball, there's not much you can do. So yeah, makes
Right.
sense.
And like both of these teams aren't offensive juggernauts. And granted,
Mhm.
the Bears score a lot of points because Justin Fields' legs are better than everyone else's. He's
Mhm.
more athletic than everyone else on the field.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that wraps it up for us. Steelers are 5-7, and I think no matter what happens, Mike Tomlin deserves a lot of credit. He's so good at uniting the team, even when it looks like at one point I was like, maybe we should just get a good draft pick, but he always keeps you in it to win it.
Hmm. Yep. You
So we'll
love to
see
see
how
it.
it goes, and
All
then we'll
right.
see if I'm glad we were going to record this before the Argentina game because Aryan might have been really sad or really happy. So
Yeah. Well, yeah. See y'all next week.
see ya.